Songwriter Soup.
I was in Miami and I was at a writing camp and we're all playing songs and listening. And the guy comes up to me afterwards. He goes, when everyone's music was playing, you didn't care. You only cared about when your music was being played. And I was just like so caught off guard.
Wow, yeah.
And he goes, it's not ours.
Healthy recipes for not losing your mind and your money in the songwriter business.
And it fundamentally changed my life because it was that moment where you're like, you work so hard. It's oriented towards just survival, whatever you got to do to survive. And then all of a sudden you get there and you're like, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to just like want what other people have all day long.
Welcome to Songwriter Soup.
Welcome. Hi, guys. It's Laura.
And Tracy.
And Tracy.
Kevin
Kevin.
and
Gabe Simon.
Howdy do.
Already famed Songwriter Soup character. I don't know if you know this.
No, I did not know I was famed songwriter.
You are
Soup character.
famed, and I'll tell you why. Because Carrie Kay was on.
Oh, fabulous.
And we were talking about two angels in her life who said the right thing at the right time and did some really beautiful mentoring. And you were the person who validated her producership.
No, she's phenomenal. I mean, there was no reason in the world she shouldn't have been doing it, but she wasn't. So.
But you know that one feeling.
You're the one that told her.
Yeah, she needed someone to say, you know, you can do this.
just put it together. Gabriel the angel.
Yes.
The
I love
archangel.
it. The art.
Blowing on his horn.
You
got
knew to do it. And
Coming
then
down, whispering and Mary and Joseph sweet ears. Sweet baby Jesus is on the way.
Well, we knew it was coming. And then JT Daly was her other angel who you introduced her to because you were like, you should go, whatever. You hooked up some weird, the story is crazy.
His wife, Jo. Actually, I don't even know if they're married yet. I'm going to put this.
Oh, really?
Let's
get rid of that.
It landed on the wood. Just
Literally don't need that thing. No, but it's a neat thing because we just went to video this season and you were one of the first, like, not viral, good Lord, we're not at that point, but a video that made its way around was the Angel video, which which was you and JT and how you really helped a songwriter just validate themselves.
Hell
so
yeah.
Thank you for that.
Whoa, anytime.
Yeah. And I mean, thank you for Carrie, because Carrie is such a unique soul and
she's
such a meek person and needs people to be like, hey, you get out there and do be how wonderful you are. Yeah. Like, not all of us are built like, I'm going to go out there and just dominate. Yeah. Like that is some of us, but that's not Carrie. So she needs, she needed you.
Yeah. What's funny is that, like, I feel like now, like, I guess it's hard to imagine that version of her because she comes in and she's so confident and so relaxingly confident.
Good
that
call.
you would, you're wondering, like, am I missing a detail here? Like, why is this so chill? Like,
just kind of dancing around and making music while you're chatting, having coffee. Like she's a very sweet soul. I love her presence. She's amazing.
And she's just, speaking of finances, her and I feel like not only have I been her, whatever thing you're talking about, I've also been the person to say, do not buy that house on Zillow.
I find you to be one of the rare, sober people in this community of spenders. I don't know what you're like. I don't know.
Oh my God, you should not come to my house now. You say all this and then you haven't been to. We put a pool in our backyard.
I have a pool. Hey, baby, reward yourself.
As Steph Jones called it when she walked in, she goes, "This isn't a pool. This is a water feature."
Oh my God, that's cute.
And it's like she was so taken aback by it. And,
I have to come see it.
It's pretty sick.
No, that's a thrilling thing. You have children, get a pool. That's a beautiful natural progression.
Well, I know we love our house. We've been there now for like 5 or 6 years. We didn't really want to move, and I think that a lot of people, we own it outright too.
Yes.
So we don't owe anything on it. So for us,
there
was a huge amount of freedom, and like we actually now officially own it because we paid off the rest of it this summer. So
congratulations.
We wrote a check and we're like, we're just going to be free of this. There's no point paying interest.
What a feeling.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
We're really talking about, we're doing this.
Yeah.
I'll tie it in all day.
Well, it's funny because we talk about how there's two approaches on finances, and I'm in the category of like, I don't like debt. I have no debt. Yeah. I don't want debt. Anytime any good luck has befallen my family, the first thing we do is just kill everything. And, and there are schools of thought that say that's a terrible financial decision, but mentally for me, it's really nice just to not live with the albatross of debt.
What I think too is that most people, they use the argument of having debt because it's good for your line of credit or whatever. And like, I look at our credit score and it's phenomenal, and I don't need debt to have that. We also have credit cards, so it's like we could still do those things without having to take on that debt and this debt and that debt and that debt. And then you're just
having a pile of debt doesn't help.
No,
paying it off does.
Well,
you know what I mean?
And if you're leveraging the debt, that's one thing. But like most people, we're not. I mean, we're plebeians, you know. We're not out here trying. We don't know what we're doing. I write songs for a living. No one should ask me for. No one should truly ask me for financial advice. We can have soft advice because I feel like that kind of guy.
That's how we chat.
Yeah,
it's
soft
funny.
advice.
Yeah, we're soft advice people, but it's funny how often songwriters think they know.
What's some of the best advice y'all have gotten in the writer room? Financial advice.
Financial
best advice, and I'm going to worst advice because best advice in the writer room.
This is a great question. What you got?
Well, funny enough, I was standing outside of a studio, and I was there with another guy, and I was like, oh man, I think I'm gonna buy a pool, and he goes, don't get a fucking pool. He's like, if there's anything I learned from my journey in music was don't buy the pool. And I still bought it. That was the craziest part. So I have
how long
it's
ago?
almost impossible not to buy the pool, by the way.
I mean, when
every client I've ever had who said, I think I want a pool, it's like, that's inevitable.
You're gonna
That's
get
happening, and it's going to cost twice as much as you think it's going to.
Of course it is.
But you're going to have a ball.
And if you have little
it's
children,
so fun.
It
costs literally twice as much.
I mean,
I'm sure
same.
it always does.
It always does.
The other piece of advice I got that was terrible.
Because that was the best.
No, it was bad
the best
That was bad advice.
I was going on bad advice.
Okay.
I said never buy a pool.
And then-
I guess it was bad. It was good bad advice.
It's negative.
It's good advice you didn't want to
I
hear.
shouldn't do it, but I did it anyways. The other one was buy the car, don't lease it. And I have always leased cars. And the one time we bought a car, we bought a Tesla, and it immediately devalued to like less than $35,000 because they flooded the market with all the Hertz rental cars.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never should have bought this Tesla. And I
I've
should have
never
just leased
leased a car. Why does one lease a car? Just curious. I'd have no idea.
Because you don't like handling the service of an expensive vehicle.
Okay.
Or you are a person who likes to switch cars in a reasonable amount.
There you
Or
go.
you don't drive a lot.
That is great.
You
That's
don't drive
excellent.
a lot.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Those three things are the exact things I would say.
Yeah. I drive
100%.
under 10,000 miles every year. There's no reason for me to
You like
There's
new
no
cars,
fucking
you
way.
don't want to service it, and you
You don't
change
drive a
out.
lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
don't
yeah.
drive a lot.
I'm out of that category. I like the new car thing. I feel like I drive a lot.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
hate driving.
Okay.
More than
Well,
anything.
so do
And
I.
I keep them for 30 years. Like I keep
You?
cars for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's a
love-
car
So you like
I
an
like
old
old
Honda Civic?
Old 2002
92 Civic.
Lexus LX 470.
Whoa.
300,000 miles on it.
Jeez.
So you either come off as Warren Buffett in that situation, or you come off as that guy doesn't know what he's doing.
That's right. I've got one client I pull up to his house. He's like, is that your car? Like, yeah.
No, I have
Do you want me to have a fancy car?
What's funny is
I
how
like
many
old ones.
new songwriters I've like young boys, frankly. It's always a boy. I'll pull up in my RAV4 because I don't give a shit about cars. I will never give a shit about cars. It will never suddenly occur to me to give a shit about cars. Never once in my life. I'll pull up to a right where it's two new kids who've had their like first hint of success. And they're like, why are you driving a RAV4? Because in their head, the picture of success is not having a RAV4.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I respect that, but this is where I just don't care. It's a
Yeah.
car that works. It like gets my kids around. It can fit stuff. That's
And you
plenty.
got a pool.
And I got a pool.
I know people who like. There was this one dude who walked in. He goes, "I'm gonna go." He's like, "I went to the car dealership. I had a big hit. I had a duffel bag full of cash."
Oh
And he
my
said,
God.
and he said, "I'm gonna buy a car like this," and they wouldn't even sell him the car because you can't do that. But it was just like, but some people want that. They want
The
that
feeling. Yeah.
that like that's almost like fuck you.
Yeah,
feeling,
yeah.
Which I
Mhm.
don't really feel that way about much of anything.
I
in
feel that
life.
way about not having debt.
Yeah, I
That's my
know.
fuck you, bitch. Like, absolutely not. Nobody owns me. You know,
Yeah.
I like that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, it's freedom
Yeah,
in its sense.
freedom.
Like you don't have to worry about. Like I think about, I'm a doomsday person. I like
A little
I'm
bit,
not
me
like a
too.
prepper, but like I love sci-fi. So
You got a
like,
go bag though?
Okay.
so like if so yes, but like so
Okay.
like, you know.
I'm not a prepper. I got to go back there. Me too.
Yeah,
I'll say the
too.
same
always
thing.
gotta go back. You know,
You gotta
have a go
it
bag.
just depends on what in your go bag that defines what kind of prepper you are.
That's a great point.
CDs and a Walkman disc player.
CDs and
Oh
Walkman
my
display, yeah,
That'll
some
do
contact
it.
solution.
Wow. These are thought out.
Practical things. But like I think about that because like I imagine like what is the things that like if stuff went south, like what would or like financially for me, what would be the first things that I would be very terrified about losing from my family?
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be like the roof over their head,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the food in the fridge and all
Right.
those kinds of things. So I don't ever want to be in any situation where I'm potentially vulnerable to that.
Me too.
Especially if you can control it. Like,
Mhm.
because there's not many things in life you can control.
Mhm.
You can control whether or not you have debt. You can control how you spend your money. I mean, everything else is kind of just like whatever. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't control if someone cuts the song. You can't control if the song's a hit.
Nope.
You can't control if they like you or dislike you, but you can control how you spend your money.
So that brings me to an interesting question.
Cool.
I hold you in a category of songwriter that a Daniel Tashian, you know, a Conrad Snyder, like it's like this tastemaker type of co-writer / producer where you're not chasing the trend. The trend is catching up with you. Daniel Tashian was on here and we talked a ton about how he had to wait in a way until his, you know, energy was sort of in style, which is a dumb thing to say, but I mean,
That makes sense,
obviously,
though. Yeah.
Ian Fitchick as well, same type of character. People who just like don't chase trends; the trends come to them. Like obviously, your success with Noah Kahan, you know, that is an indicator where it's like he just came onto the scene and kind of created an entire, you know, boom chick scene for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Like it was wild how it, you know, it gave a whole trend. It lended a trend to the music industry at large.
Yeah.
Weirdly. I don't know. I think that's an interesting person to be in town. I'm curious how long things took for you. Did you feel like it took a long time? Were you chasing? I've never, like, we've written a handful of times that doesn't seem to be your area. You know, the people that say like, what do people want right now? I've just never heard you say that or think that out loud in my presence.
I say it all the time.
I'm just curious about how your style, how did that take a minute?
Yeah, I mean, so I came to Nashville and I went to college at Belmont, and then I was joined a band, and I really wanted to be a talent agent. Like I came here and I was like, that was the job I wanted.
Wow. Okay.
And I'd been watching Entourage with my brother when I was growing up, and I wanted to be Ari Gould, and I was like, I want to do that job. And I got here and I started working, and I got a gig at CAA, and I was a floater there. And my band at the time was just getting started, but I got signed to William Morris, and so the CAA person was like, "You can't work here anymore. Your band got signed to William Morris, so we have competition."
Oh.
So it was almost like the thing that I wanted to do, this is almost it's like a different conversation because there's like one path that I wanted to take in my life, which I thought was more practical,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the other path, which is like, who the hell knows what's going to happen over here? But it sounded fun, and everyone at the company, a CAA, was like, that's what we all want to do. You should go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'll go do that. And I ended up doing that until about, I was 25. And then I had my first daughter,
Mm.
and I really didn't want to be gone. And I was terrified financially. And I basically called everyone who would potentially give me a publishing deal. And I got one, and it was for
Wait.
Yeah, we need to go
Hold
deeper
it.
into that one.
Yeah.
What?
We got a publishing deal from the woman who signed me 10 years ago, and who is she's no longer at the company that I'm signed to, Pulse.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been with them for 10 years. I've re-signed with them 3 times now.
Mm-hmm.
And we got $115,000 for a 3-year plus 2 options deal. Which
Question: was it
is,
like?
Wow.
Was it a LA style?
LA Copa?
Okay.
Yeah, so not a draw. And I sounded like a ton of money to me at the time. And then we realized we had to make $115,000 pretty much last for like as long as possible.
Yeah, and beyond 3 years, it says 3 years, but
Oh,
really
yeah, it's
in the
until you
LA
recoup
style, it's until you recoup.
115%. So it was like,
And after tax.
and after taxes, and then I also, in my original deal, I had an MDRC. So I had to have a certain amount of songs not only get released, they had to be released on a major label. And if they weren't released on a major label and they released on an indie, they had to have over X amount of income stream.
Quick pause for the listeners.
MDRC, yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about
minimum
this.
delivery release clause.
Yes.
They kind of don't really exist anymore.
They don't, which is wonderful. We talked about it with Taylor Parks. Just a reminder to the listener, this is a deal that's thankfully gone out of style, but it's jail.
Yeah.
Essentially.
It's jail if you if the terms are impossible to meet. Like I think it's fine if like to motivate you to write songs. Like for example, I had a like master deal with somebody where they asked me to deliver 3 songs a year. They didn't care if it was through anything. They was like, if it'd be great to have 3 songs that we could work for, whatever. But it's one thing if it's like, hey, you know, that artist that you just did on Mom and Pop, that whole record you just did, none of it counts unless each song generates over X amount of money.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, now I'm making albums that don't benefit me on the publishing side, at least not towards my deal. And that is just, I mean, that feels like prison because, and then like the ball moving around the field is like the label can decide whether it was like a single, and if it wasn't a single, then they can decide whether the record counts towards the artist deal, and that changes my publishing deal. So anyways, we renegotiated all that.
Very involved.
And now it's too much to think about. I mean, I learned so much just in every renegotiation of every deal I've ever done. I've learned more and more about the music industry.
Totally.
And but anyway, so we were making that $115,000 last. I was driving Uber at night and writing songs during the day. And then it got to the point where I was driving a lot of Uber and because we weren't making enough money. And then there was one day when I was like, I don't think this is going to work anymore. And I think we're going to be done. And I'm about to have my second child. And I went to go work out with some buddies in the morning. And I was just like, guys, I think this is the last day I'm going to make music for a living.
Whoa.
And
that's emotional.
yeah, it was hard because I think I feel like I'd squeezed all the juices I could out of the whole thing and done everything I could. And then, funny enough, that master deal I was telling you about, I had one song that I had just delivered to them. And that day when I got home, I got an email from them that it said it got licensed for like, I don't know, $120,000. Then I was just like, what? And then that license ended up getting on TV and then getting SAG-AFTRA, which then ended up being aired in every single taxi cab and every single TV. And I was singing, and I whistled on the song.
So you got performance.
I got performance rights on it. And so
that's 3 streams of income right there.
3 streams of income.
Yeah.
And that to me was the moment when you realize like the spider web, like of the music industry, how it works and like what you need to do in order to like make it all funnel into the right place.
Kind of death by 1,000 cuts too.
Yeah.
It just has this sort of, you realize that even if you're not making a huge amount on one song, all those little bits can add up to a living.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
It was wild. And then we had healthcare all of a sudden, and then we were no longer
because of SAG-AFTRA.
Because of SAG-AFTRA.
Sick.
And I got to stop driving Uber, which is no problem with that. It was amazing
the cab
to do.
thing also, by the way, I'm sorry if the cab thing
While
is
you're driving
kind of
Uber.
adorable. The fact that the cab replaced Uber.
Yeah.
Is adorable.
And just driving around and getting to know people was actually really good for me because it got me. I've always liked talking to people, but I liked talking to people about the city, and I liked talking to people about what I did and hearing about what they had to do. And I learned a lot about conversation, and I learned a lot about asking people questions that I felt were useful. Like for them, just asking a question, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Okay. And that's a question I ask in every record, and every artist I work with. And you learn through that, like, why are you here? Why are we even working together? Like, how can I serve you? And music is a service industry. Like, we service the need of the listener, but then as the songwriter services the need of the artist, the producer services the need of the artist and the label. And all of them, and then the artist is over here in this weird category where they're both in service to everyone and in service to no one.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them to serve you. You want them to be their own thing. But if they don't serve you in some capacity, then no one shows up.
There's a magical sauce to that. Yeah.
So there's a sweet spot. And I went from doing that and then all of a sudden, I felt the freedom to try things. And the first record I ever produced was a guy named Bear Reinhardt from Need to Breathe. And
Oh
he was
my
doing
gosh.
he was
No
doing
way.
he was doing a side project called Wilder Woods.
Oh yeah.
And the guy at Atlantic, his name's Steve Robertson at the time, Steve-O, I had met him in 2009 when I was in a band. I really wanted him to sign my band. And he said, I'm never going to sign your band, but one day I'm going to work with you. And when he saw that I was the guy that Bear was writing with, he's like, you should produce this record. And then Bear was like, I don't know who this guy is. He's never made any records, but he's got a good vibe. And he asked me lots of questions. And he came in there and he did his thing. And I love it.
Mhm.
And that was the first record I ever did.
Mhm.
And that led to me getting my managers, Drew Simmons, who also manages Noah.
Mhm.
And that kind of fell into the pandemic. And at that point, I just loved talking to people. And I was on Zoom every single day, and I was getting cuts and I made whole albums on Zoom because people could just talk to me.
Mhm.
And I would just filter their vocabulary, and I would filter the way that they would talk about sounds and things like that. It turned into a place where I could be them. I could
Mhm.
emulate them without them being there. And so then by the time that the pandemic ends, I'm doing a Lana Del Rey record through a way of working with Nikki Lane in the same capacity. I've been doing all this other stuff, and I'm finishing up Maroon 5, and I'm doing some like Joji stuff, and I'm doing Ex Ambassadors, and
It's all from Nashville.
all from Nashville.
Which is pretty,
Crazy.
that's pretty astounding.
But it was all, I mean, surprisingly, it was all through
It's like
conversation skills on
but-
Zoom.
Exactly. You had sort of like one of the very few benefits of the pandemic was just like, that was some 10,000 hours.
Well, yeah, and it was crazy because like I think that for me that was the time I pivoted to being a producer and a writer, because I realized like my first cut ever was with Dua Lipa, and that was in 2017,
Mm-hmm.
and I made no money,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I can't do this job, like, and I remember like people in the Uber being like, "Oh man, you're gonna make it one day," and to the point where then years later I had to pivot. Like this whole business is about pivoting. It's like the spider web. You see the income stream, you go and go, cool, I need to have these things in order to survive for this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Until you realize I don't need to do these things. I'm graduating to these things. And then I'm
Mhm.
graduating to these things. So that led to like now I'm producing and writing the records that I'm working on. And like that to me was the ultimate balance of income stream, where I could make records and be guaranteed that. But at the same exact time, the reason I wanted to make them was because I liked the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
There's more money to be made, actually, surprisingly, to just make singles. Like if you're a big LA top producer,
Without
you're going
a
to
doubt.
get paid something crazy to make one song, okay? And you're getting that points and you're getting that royalty, and it's going to go on the radio and it's going to get streamed a ton. All that's really good. I like the story.
Mm-hmm.
I like what's the intention, why we're here, where are we going, what do you need? And to me, the only way to do that is to make a record. And so I couldn't just walk away from these dudes who were staring at their laptops and I'm playing all the songs.
Mm-hmm.
It took the moment of like, okay, people want to make records again. Because I do feel like the longest time, people were just like, what's a big hot
It
single?
came
Yes.
back. Like the idea of
there was
telling,
time.
it took a minute, but I mean, vinyl sales are up. It's a really weird
crazy.
truth, but we as a humanity got interested in longer form storytelling. And again, your timing is fascinating. I'm also fascinated by the day job choice, which even though you had a deal, we talk about the day job phase of this job, which you were doing while you had a deal, which is fascinating. But, we're always like, wait tables, bartend. Uber is fantastic in terms of getting like in the soup of like the human race, like the human condition, and getting comfortable asking questions. I think that's so dope. And that's such a great, easy day job. Not easy to do, easy to start doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to, there's no application. It's not like
No.
you just have to know how to drive.
It is a light application.
Okay, a light application. It's a great point. But it's not, you don't have to walk into a bar and beg someone to let you bartend, which I had to do, and it
Yeah.
sucked. Like, I hated that. It was like so vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more like it's direct. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you get people in the safety of your car, which is a lot of trust in general. People have
Totally.
to give you. I mean, it's no different now than having random people fly from all over the world and come in my backyard, like
Yeah.
to above my garage.
Mm-hmm.
that's
True.
a dope pool.
Yeah.
Where I could potentially murder them, but I know. So I take them back there, and we go and we write music, and we talk, and we listen to each other. And I know you talked about Daniel and Ian, and I've mentioned other people as well. Like, I think that, like, it's been a steady growth of this direction towards making albums that matter. And I think there have always been people who've done it over time. Like Cobb has done it with Stapleton for years. And
he's a good example of someone who's just like the steady force. I think y'all are more like a scene.
Yeah.
You're more like a trend. Like you came in around the same time. You had the same ethos. You were like, let's make records and make sounds cool, you know?
There's two kinds of ways to make record. You make a record. You can just put a bunch of shit on a record and you don't care who the artist is, no matter what your producer you're coming in. They want my sound, they want me to do my thing.
Right.
And you do it. Or you spend time with the artist and you make the record that most supports what the artist is. And I think that there are probably other slight variations of that job. But the differences are, one, you hear the production and you hear the producer, like just like they're an artist. And the other one, you only hear the artist. And I think that when you think of Cobb and Fitchick and Daniel, and it would be cool to being considered in that category. I consider a guy, James Ford, who's the best producer in the world, English guy.
Wow, cool.
He's in that category where he's made all the Arctic Monkeys records and all the Fontaines DC records, and you wouldn't even know he existed.
That's the best part, in a way.
Yeah.
Like, and I love that we have this thing where people can see the through line of who we are. But I mean, Stick Season is a great example of, like, if you were trying to impress anybody, there'd be a whole lot more going on in that song. I feel like you were like, nah, this is what the song needs.
The song is good.
This is what the artist needs. And it's almost like you're not there.
Yeah.
But that's the genius of it. I think that's the genius of it. It's like if everyone was like, oh my God, he's all over. I mean, that you let the song breathe, you let the artist be who they are, and it's obvious that it was a hit for a reason. It's because it stood out in its simplicity.
Yeah.
Which, again, I really admire people who can follow the music like it's the magical thing and less like you're the magical thing.
Well, and I think that it comes down to
Even
great
though we're
songwriting,
magical.
though.
True.
I mean, I do, like, you can't do it with everyone. Or you can have a great artist who has people who write great songs for them, or you have a great artist who writes their own great songs. Like, the beauty of Noah, and not to just talk about Noah, but like there's a handful. There's Noah, and there's Dermot Kennedy, this guy this last year I work with, and people like Lana. They just come in and they have a story to tell. And you are just doing everything in your power to not get in the way of it.
Wow, that's dope.
You know what I mean? Like, you're like, if like we would have these things where, like, the piano part's just, it's good, it sounds beautiful, it should be amazing, but it stands out, and all of a sudden I'm paying attention to the piano part.
Exactly.
I don't want to pay attention to the piano part. I just want to listen to what he's saying. And that's why people show up. That's why they're crying on the front row, not because of some fiddle solo. They're crying because of, like, you know, like, the lyrics make them feel a way that they don't know how to say or describe themselves. And, like, I mean, some people can play and feel that. They can play just a guitar and they can weep and cry. Those people are weird, and you know. And they're at home right now crying, playing guitar. They can't cry on stage and play guitar. If they did, they'd be like, "What's wrong with that guy? Why is he crying on stage playing guitar? He's just playing guitar."
Remember Janet Jackson? Constantly turn away and weeping.
That reminds me of a piece of advice you gave me to give to somebody recently.
Ooh,
what was that?
Social media personality wanted to get into music. And I asked Laura, I said, hey, what's a massive social media person? And Laura said, if she has something to say, tell her to take her phone out and sing a song.
Yeah.
And then post it.
Yeah.
If she doesn't, then she's going to need a marketing team, she's going to need this whole crew of songwriters to create this thing. You did.
Good advice.
Which is actually amazing advice.
Yeah.
Like, to your point, if Noah has something to say, it's the producer's job to serve that, what he's trying to say.
I mean, no one sat there and went, Bob Dylan has an amazing voice. Like, he's had something to say.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, the Beatles inundated the world with things to say. I mean, like, all these things that we look back and go, why were they famous?
Yes.
More than most part, it was because they had something to say.
I think we're also in a really cool pivot where music is more important than it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's also meaningless in this other way where we really need a distraction, but I feel like it's happening simultaneously. It's like the 60s and the 80s are happening at the same time. Like the 60s, we needed that music. Life is, fucking falling apart and we need that, And then there's also like, Pink Pantheress where it's like, what is this even? But I love it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and Cat's Eye and stuff. Like, I need that too. And I think it's a neat time to be making music because you can follow those people into the dark and figure out, Jessie Murph is someone we both work with, and she falls under an interesting category, kind of combinations of both, where what she has to say is very important in these one ways. And then in these other ways, it's like, fuck it, let's just say whatever the fuck, you know, and she can toggle between, which is really fun. You wrote one of my favorite of her songs, like hands down. And it's funny too, because like, you wrote it before I met Jessie, and people kept saying, "Oh, there's this song, The Man That Came Back," and I was like, "Oh, cool. I wonder what that's about." Year after year, talking about it. Oh, it's not on this record, huh? They're still talking about it, and then it came out on the record, and the first time I heard it was the day the record came out.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, "Dear God, I'm so glad this one hung on." And I mean, Grammy wise, I was like, it was submitted for Best Country Song.
Yeah.
And I was really hoping that the Academy would embrace it because it's a perfect country song.
It is a great country song.
But it's also genre, odd because she's also, with Lil Baby over here and,
Yeah, I mean, when you're genre fluid, it's the whole thing.
It's a challenge in
but
settings
at
like
the
that.
same time, it's like her fans aren't one thing. And at the end of the day, do you care about getting, I guess it benefits us more to get a Grammy probably than her, right?
No. I think I feel like the benefits there have to do with just being embraced.
Are there any benefits of the Grammy?
That's a great question. Can we talk about that?
That was the question I had.
Let's talk about that. Because I've seen the clouds from both sides now.
Yeah.
And I do understand what the value is, and yet it's valueless, but it's not valueless. It's like very complex.
For the average listener out there, how does one get a Grammy? Let's start there.
For having a lot of money and lobbying that money towards efficiently. It's the same way. Remember when she said that you can either have talent or you can have a whole team of marketing people?
I think it's the same with Grammys.
It's the same exact way. Either you have unavoidably great talent, like you are just Adele and you're going to sweep it up.
Yeah.
Or you have so much money that you can pay to get all the marketing. And there are people who put all those campaigns together. And
there's a difference also about.
I'm probably never going to get one just for saying this.
No, that's not true. You can say it.
Speak the truth here.
It's just the truth. But it's not just lobbying. It's also about eyeballs. I had this conversation with a artist one time who was just like, I don't understand why I don't get nominated. And I'm like, did you submit your song?
Yeah.
There is a system. You have to submit your song.
You
got to do. You got to do some work,
and you have to be visible. So I don't think it's less about lobbying and more about eyeballs.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. Then there's lobbying, which I've never participated in lobbying. I don't.
But there are plenty of people who do.
Yeah, and they have a lot of money, and basically they just have a lot of people they can be like, hey, will you, would you jump on my team here? And I don't think that that's like new news. That's just human, though. It's not like as sinister as it sounds. This person manages this person. And this person knows all these guys. And then this person can call all these guys and be like, hey, would you, I don't, it's not lobbying, but it is lobbying. Do you know what I mean? It's really just friendship.
We used to get CDs in the mail.
Yeah.
For if you're on
the Grammy considerations.
Yeah.
I get those, but they're records, but I get people asking me to vote for them. Yeah. I get emails. I don't know if you get the emails. Hey, would you, I've never responded to those because I think they're odd to be asked to vote for something. I'm like, that's not how I'm going to be functioning about that. I really like picking my favorite things. But to answer your question, how does it benefit you? How does it benefit you? As an artist, it's different than as a songwriter and a producer, to your point.
I've never won one, so it might be, what is the word I'm thinking of? Like the guy who hasn't won one commenting on what's the benefit of winning one?
I've never won one either. But nomination is a whole, that's a whole scene.
So I know the thing that I don't like about it is feeling an immense sense of competition amongst my own peers who I've worked really, really hard to not feel competitive
Yeah,
with.
exactly.
And because you don't see the benefit of it, like on a daily basis, there is no benefit to being competitive with each other. Like, I
Agreed.
mean, like it's just,
I don't think there's any point where there's a benefit to being competitive.
I mean, like,
in music, I
no,
mean,
there is
it's
not,
so
bec-
Fruit Loopian. Like we're
okay,
just, you know.
I was in Miami and I was at a writing camp, and this was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And I was writing with this one guy. His name is Jonas Meyer, and he's a really sweet dude. This is Swiss, Swedish guy. And we were at this writing camp for this artist named Tamia. It was like R&B artist. And we're all playing songs and this listening afterwards. And the guy comes up to me afterwards and he goes, I noticed that when everyone's music was playing, you didn't care. You only cared about when your music was being played. And he's just like, you just seemed like you were, like, just had found no joy in the music. It's just the competition. And I was just like so caught off guard.
Wow, yeah.
And he goes, it's not ours. It just sometimes falls on us. And some of us get good ones some days and some of us get good ones other days. I said, but you don't own any of these songs. They're our songs. And I started crying at the table.
Wow.
And it fundamentally changed my life because it was that moment where you're like, you work so hard. And this whole, everything I'm telling you about, like driving Uber and like taking care of my family, it's oriented towards just survival. And whatever you got to do to survive. And then all of a sudden you get there and you're like, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to just like want what other people have all day long.
Great call.
I don't want to just look at these people who want to actually collaborate with me as like some version of how can I fuck them over to get more.
Well, it's funny you should say it because there's two schools of thought here. You know, I feel like it's, you know, an American issue maybe of just wanting to be the best or wanting to be among the best. To me, I really am satisfied knowing at this current time in music, which by the way will be completely forgotten in a few short years, I'm among the best. I'm among them. I'm one of them. That makes me feel great.
Yeah.
The idea that I need more than that is an American lie that I just don't subscribe to. I don't need to be the best. I really want to just be with the people who are making the things that people hear. And that's exciting. That's why, as cheesy as it is, I think the nomination is it, man.
Yeah.
I don't think winning is a thing.
Yeah.
The winning thing is really just somebody spending more dollars to put that person in front of somebody.
Yeah.
By spending more money on Grammy lobbying, what I mean is you get the magazine, Billboard, and there's, you know, please, for your consideration. Some people can't afford that. Some people can.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by more eyeballs.
Yeah.
I do think there's a reason why, you know, Elton John is always going to win. It's because the more people know Elton John than anyone else. And so when they're scanning the list, they don't even have to, you know.
They see the name.
They see the name and it's like totally okay. That's human nature. No, you know, very few of us are going to listen to every song. Very few of us.
Well, people like safe bets.
They do. And they're
they
like,
don't
you know what? You know, Chris Stapleton, he's probably great. Click. It's like if they just met somebody new and you're up against somebody who's been known for a long time. I don't think it's not like a travesty that someone picks what they know. I just think that's why, for all intents and purposes, I think it's really satisfying to just know you get to sit next to these people.
Yeah.
Like these people are something, even if it's brief, you're like, oh my God, I was nominated alongside who? I mean, there was one year, the first year I was nominated was Speechless with Dan and Shay.
Yeah.
Not a new band, but I mean, young boys. We were up against Tanya Tucker. And I'm like, losing to Tanya Tucker was one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. The fact that she had been nominated 15,000 fucking times and finally won.
Yeah.
And I got to watch that. That's huge. And I get to say I was in the company of, which is an odd pairing. That's probably why they split it this year into like traditional country and modern country, because it's an odd thing to be alongside. But that's very satisfying, you know? And I think winning is a joke. It's a trophy. And by the way, for anyone wondering, they don't pay you to win a Grammy. They don't pay you to get nominated. In fact, you spend an ass load of money to go to LA, show up with a very
so
pretty
much.
dress. You have to spend money to be nominated, spend money
Kiss
to
the
win.
ring.
And there's portions of that. And a lot of it is just like kind of not as, it's not all it's cracked up to be in terms of like the purity of it. I think when you're a kid, you think it's really pure.
Yeah, well, I think we were like that with most things. They've got the movie magic, you know.
Mhm.
There's like a sense of mystique and mystery,
Mhm.
and it's just not there. I mean, I feel like any kind of major accomplishment is
Mhm.
that way, because once you get it, you either want to get it again or it terrifies the fuck out of you.
Mhm.
And I think that, like, for example, like Noah is a great example, because it changed both of our lives, where we went from being like, I'm a writer, I'm a producer, and he's an artist, to like, holy shit, he's
Yeah.
a superstar, and now I'm a really big producer.
Yeah.
And we didn't really ask for it, nor did anyone coach us through the process of it. And like, you're just kind of there one day, and all of a sudden you kind of come out of the pandemic and you're like I've been living in my house. I don't see anybody. I wear a farmer hat all the time, and like I grow vegetables. So all of a sudden, like, you're doing all this shit, and it's a lot. So then I hit like a serious depression, like about right around January of 24. Because the Noah record had the biggest spike in like end of 23 into top 24, and it was just so big.
Mhm.
And I sat there and I was like, I will never make anything this good or
Mhm.
this big ever again. And that terrified me, because I'm like, I'm 37 now, so it's like 35.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm fucked. Like, this is it. I've maxed out. And I feel like even going to the Grammys, that next year with him was just like, when we lost, I was like, I'm fucked.
Mhm.
This is it.
Wow.
This is the thing. And it took a lot of work, even like I'm just speaking on my behalf, to get out of that headspace of where you're like, I'm never going to do better than this.
Well, I think little Gabe, you know, is would be just absolutely astounded that you felt like that.
Yeah.
Like, and
At the Grammys.
At the Grammys,
Yeah.
like, and honestly, no, everyone feels that. By the way, there's no one who isn't like, oh shit, that was that. Like, that's a normal human, I think, response to outlandish success. But God, it's so funny thinking about the theories of relativity around it, because like little Gabe would be just, you know, Uber driving Gabe would be like,
You made it.
you made it.
You
You're
made
done.
it.
You're
Yeah.
done in a good way.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're like, I'm done. You know what I mean?
How did you deal with it? What was the next?
Yeah, what was your healing
next,
journey?
What was your next
Man,
step?
I think I will say that I feel like I'm still working through it. Like, it's one of those things that you just have to really catch yourself, because one of the things that happens, and you probably feel this way as a songwriter, and I feel this way as a producer, is that once you start making meaningful big records, everyone just thinks they're really great. And that's a fucking lie. Like, that's terrifying. When I make great records when people push back, like, I make great records when I have to be vulnerable and then someone says no. And when I have to fight for things, that's like, you know, like diamonds aren't just made, they just aren't picked up off the ground. Like, they have to be formed.
Mhm.
And to me, the most terrifying part was the lack of resistance, because for forever you get used to this resistance. Everything's
Whoa.
difficult.
Wait, can we talk more? I
so the
really like what
flow
you just said.
Yeah,
George
it's
just
like you're a
started
salmon who
opening.
suddenly has gotten to a lake on top, but like, and then
Yeah.
you're just gonna die.
Right.
That's terrifying.
But
Like,
also, people trusting you because of because you've accomplished something is almost scarier.
well, no,
Resistance
because
is like,
I don't even know if it's trust. It would be one thing if it
They
was mutual,
assume- they
collaborative
assume
trust.
it, I think.
It's not. It's assumption.
Yeah.
And I think that's a
Yeah.
big difference. And I think that when assumption and expectation, it's like two of the things that I talk about when I'm making records with all people all the time. Because I don't want to assume what you want to sound like, and I don't want to assume what you want to talk about. And I want you to expect that I'm going to show up every day, but I'm not going to be your slave. So, like, I think that the difference in that moment is you deliver a record, you think it's really, really great, but now you no longer have someone else to say, what about this? Could you change this and push this here? At one point, it would have made me fucking crazy. I actually have a quote hung up on my wall. It's from Ben Madahi. And Ben Madahi's an A&R guy at Columbia, and he's a good dude. And he works with Wetzel, who we work, and Jessie Murph. And I was working on a Jessie Murph song about like 3 years ago. And we were having a hard time getting the song over the finish line. And there was a lot of miscommunication. And then finally Ben called me, and I answer the phone, and he kind of gives me some direction. And at this time in my life, I would have been very anti-direction. I've just been like, "Fuck you! This is how we make diamonds." Shit. That's like, okay. That's like, and I would have,
Let
"Fuck
me
you."
cook.
But as I'm hanging up the phone, I just go, "Fucking A&R guys." But I didn't hang up the phone yet.
Mm.
So he calls me back and he goes,
so-
"Hey man, I'm here to help. I'm not trying to like do anything. I'm just here to help." And it broke me because it killed me with kindness. And it was like, it was lethal. And at the end, I do this tweak and I write through the stuff and it was better. The song was better. And he goes, and I send it to him. He's like, "You're right." And he goes, "Sometimes the fucking A&R guy's got a good idea."
Which is the quote? I'm here to help.
Sometimes the fucking A&R guy's got a good idea. And it's
That's
good
so
because I think that the beauty of art is not this silo. It's collaboration. It's what you said. That's why I don't want to compete. It's like the whole
Right.
thing about it is like, if our best art if the artist's best version of himself is like a great producer, great musicians in the room, or even just one or two bits and a great mixer and a great mastering person and an A&R person who's relatively good at their job. You don't have to be genius. No one's a genius. Like if they can help guide it and a management team, if we're all collaborating, there's no way this is going to fail. But if it starts feeling like we're all battling each other or there's blind trust, because that means somebody's not doing their job.
Right.
That means if someone's just blindly going, "Oh, they got this covered." I'm not saying everybody needs to micromanage my life, but like I work well when we are doing this.
Yeah, a little feedback.
Little feedback. And
Mhm.
So
so
it's an
that's
exercise in humility, I think, in
It
a big
is.
way. Like you got to serve somebody.
You got to.
What are you serving? Everybody in the team has
Yeah.
to think, like, what are we serving right now? Am I serving myself? Am I serving the song, the artist?
and you don't want it because you've seen it because you work with other talented artists. It's like when some people start serving them all the time, it changes them completely.
Well, it really takes, the ecosystem is completely off. It's almost like watching a dog tell you how cute it is or something. It's like,
Just tell me more.
do you know what I mean? Like it's something about the ecosystem goes so wonky when anyone in the room starts taking too much credit for what's happening. And I don't know. I'm circling back to what you were saying about people who are willing to kind of stomp on people to get further up the chain or
Yeah.
whatever. And I it's that.
Yeah.
It starts with that feeling that says I deserve more. And in a way, it's like none of us deserve any of this.
Yeah.
We all could have been, any number of very just everyday Joe job
Yeah.
person. That could be us. And here we are getting to like make magic every day. And, I was going to ask you too, it's like you make something that works so unequivocally, unbelievable success. And then this has happened to me a couple of times where I go back in and I work on a project and I'm like, this though, boom, this is going to, like I'm so confident. And then it's just like, it's a dookie, brother. Like it didn't do the thing. It didn't do the thing that the previous thing did. Or like I have a co-writer in mind who had one of the biggest songs of all time a couple of years ago by an artist. And I remember him saying to me like, that song was great and everything, but the one that's about to come out is going to blow minds. And it was just like, you know what I mean? The song that had already happened was his thing.
Yeah.
And I think we all believe the moment that we're making the thing or whatever it meant to us is going to translate. And I think that's the thing we'll never know. Like
But that's the only thing that matters. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I think that's the hardest. That's the catch-22 of it is, it's like, if it's not fun and it's not something that you love doing
mhm.
and makes you want to show up and tell the story in this room, what was the point?
That to me is what's the point?
Yeah.
But there are people who will fight you on that. And there are people who will say the point is more money and the point is success. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds so boring. I'd rather fail on something I loved than win on something I didn't love making. Like I'd rather fail.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When you have kids, do you want your daughter to see you do something every day that you hate doing?
It's exactly that. If
Like-
I'm going to leave, it better be for fun.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
better be something sick. Like
Yeah.
I've had this year, actually the last 2 years, which have been really cool. And I think one of the big things that changed my perspective was I took my family with me on all these records. So we went to the UK to make a
Oh,
James Bay
wow.
record. And we
Mhm.
went to Ireland to make the Dermot Kennedy record. And like we live in these places and it's just us, you know, we don't know anybody else. So we're just kind of like, my kids don't give a shit what I do. Like they think they're slowly coming to terms that like I make records. They're coming to the idea that like I'm around some famous people, but they're like, Dad's not famous. So he's got this weird thing going on. But he makes money. So, and he doesn't do music. So maybe I should do music too. And I'm like, don't do music. But they come with me to all these places. And so my wife and I, we spent the month in Dublin top of this year, and we hopped into this little Skoda with my mother-in-law in the back, 5 of us. This is like the biggest car in Ireland, and the suitcases packed in. It wasn't big; it was like a RAV4. Yeah.
We love it.
And we're driving around like Ireland for the first week, just collecting instruments all around the country, feeling grounded, you know, to the community of people who made music, because I was being given the honor of making a record for an Irish artist about Ireland. So was I going to go in there and just act like I knew what the fuck I was doing and be overconfident? I had no business making that record. And my kids didn't know anything. So we were at museums and we were at weird music stores and we're buying barons and bazookies and weird, strange instruments. And we're bringing them back all to make this record in this little barn of music. It was a guy's barn, backyard. It was not nice. It was cute. Didn't have bougie stuff. It was small and intimate. It's one of my favorite record experiences of my life. Not because it was everyone told me what I wanted. Not because everyone trusted me. I mean, I feel like the only people who trusted me were my family. Like they were like, "We'll go with you as long as Dad knows what the hell he's doing." Everyone else was just like, I had the management team. They couldn't even guarantee me getting paid. I had to take a huge risk, and it paid off. And the record's
think about just the benefits of that, though. Just even traveling with your family, just what a memory.
It healed my heart in a lot of ways. Like and like, you know, it brought me back to, you know, honestly, like June cooking chicken with hummus on it and not having any money and going to Costco and stocking up on as much stuff as we could and like not having anything. And it felt like very austere in a beautiful way. And not in like a demeaning of that life that we had at all. It just was like, it showed us what was important.
Exactly.
And it was important to be together, and it was important to make music, and it was important to have the trust of an artist, but also to be on the same playing field. And then Dermot said at the end of the record, he's like, I've never worked with anyone who cared about a record as much as I did. We both were going to die on a hill for this thing. That's what it's about. And that's why when I look back, all I think about is how great that trip was, how great that record making was. And that's all that matters to me, because I have no guarantee it's going to be huge at all.
Part of what makes it possible to enjoy that is that this is part of why this podcast toggles between these conversations and financial conversations, because managing your money properly when the big thing happens allows you to enjoy that experience. If you had to make that commercially successful, the pressure would be completely lopsided. Like and so part of like the MO of this whole thing is if you get one of those little lucky moments where something goes completely bananas, manage your money to the point where that can be fun.
Yeah, you put it all in the pool.
You know, just buy the pool, Lambo. No, I just feel like it's part of the ethos
Greatest
of the
investment ever.
Literally. But the feeling of just making sure that you can enjoy music making. I mean, I feel like that's like what I'm hoping this next generation gathers from what we're trying to do, which is like, I want to enjoy myself and I want them to enjoy themselves.
Well, there's enough stress out there already. I
Truly.
mean, people turn to music not because they're like, dude, I want to be so stressed right now. Like they're like, I want to break from this.
Yeah.
And I get hired to manage the stress. And like that's the job. The job of making a record is not music. It's not creativity. It's not any of this. It's to get it done.
Well, it's funny too because you're illustrating the difference between the songwriting process and the production process. Because one of the reasons I just did an interview and they were like, "You're dabbling in production. How's that going for you?" And I was like, "Whoa. I'm sorry. What?" I was like, no. I'm vocal producing. Yeah. That's so specific. Yeah. I don't want to be in production, and my reason is probably based on what you just said, which is the pressure is on you to wrap it up.
Yeah. Like, get it done.
Get it done. Yeah. And I feel like people who are like, oh, but I could learn Pro Tools in a weekend. You sure can. But that is a different commitment.
Yeah.
Songwriting is low commitment.
Yeah.
And, pick your job according to what you can manage. I'm not good at managing like the label's expectations and A&R calls from Ben. I'd be like, no.
We love Ben.
We love Ben. we both love Ben. Ben is a wonderful guy. But I would have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
And I understand that about myself, and I've kind of passed on the idea of going full on into production for that reason.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do that. You're clearly meant for it because of your interest in that full spectrum art piece thing called an album. And I've been lucky to make albums with artists where I'm there for all the writing, where I can do the same thing but in the writing seat.
Yeah.
But you definitely have like a interest and a skill level and like creating like a whole garden, you know, for the artist to just feel cozy in.
It's complicated because you also you have to find the right moments to make sure you're defending the artist's needs and make sure you're also, I don't want to, there's a better word for this, encouraging the label's investment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I can't go to the artists and say, fuck them, we don't need them, because we do.
Mm-hmm.
But we can say, fuck them and their opinion right now until we're ready to present our opinion.
Yeah.
Until we're ready to present.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all green lights until we're ready to go in there and go, now we're ready for some red tape.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what you want to do. We've laid out the playground. We've laid out the architecture here, here, and here. Now tell us this is how we best envision this.
What part of the process do you actually have that conversation in?
Which part of, what do you mean?
Of
when?
What does the playground look like when you present it?
Immediately. I start at the very beginning of a record is by creating expectations with the label. So when we even deliver the playground, it doesn't meet like their wildest dream. It's like beyond their dreams. Does that make sense? You give them the rough framework. Okay. Yeah. It's it's going to be this big and this kind of thing. And so with Noah, okay, I talked to Noah, we sat down, we were listening to New Perspective and Stick Season, and this was on the first record. And it was he loves Jim Croce, and I told him it reminds me of Mark Twain because it reminds me of, I've never been to Vermont before, but I feel like this is what it would be like listening to reading Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer. I've never been to the Mississippi River, but this guy makes it sound like we've all been there, and we've all been a part of it. And that was the thing that Noah does a really good job of. He makes us all feel like we've always grown up in Vermont.
Yeah.
And so I was like, so we're going to make, what kind of record is this? And he's like, I want it to be a folk record. I'm like, what kind of folk record? And he's like, I want mandolins and banjos, and I want all this stuff. I want to be traditional American, upper New England sound.
Mm-hmm.
So then I go to the label and I go, we're going to have this kind of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And the label's like, well, is it like Taylor Swift folklore, or is it like this kind of thing? I was like, no, it's going to be probably closer to our own thing mixed with a little bit of Nickel Creek and maybe a little bit of Mumford and Sons. Okay. So setting the framework of it. And they're like, okay, that sounds crazy. And then let's go do that. I just did a record last year with this band called Picture Parlor. It's a girl band from Liverpool. They're fucking awesome. They sound like Black Sabbath meets Chapel Roan. Okay, it's so cool.
Crazy.
So it's awesome. So we're there, but so the label was no idea what to expect of the record. So I go to the label. It's imagine Tony Iommi from Black Sabbath's guitar parts with Chapel Roan soaring melodies, and you paint a picture for them. And and then so when you deliver something to them, they're not completely thrown off by a thing. It might be different than that, but at least it's in the same ball field.
This is really good information for producers.
So good.
I don't think you're doing something that producers typically do.
I don't know.
The reason I'm saying it is because I work with a lot of producers, and I feel like communication is undervalued by them, so that, I don't know. I think you just gave us a really cool piece of advice for
Seems
producers.
To me it makes your landing easier.
Totally. Giving the
word,
label an expectation of some kind instead of going shut up, let us cook, leave us alone.
Thing.
As much as I appreciate that, and I actually want that, as a maker of music, I want that. I feel like you just gave a really cool piece of advice for producers out there. I'm a handful of the ones I work with who are 100% pros come to mind. The pain of turning in a record and having them go, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, instead of, oh, this is, I feel like that
Secrets are no fun.
Mhm.
Secrets hurt someone.
All that to say, I think that's very interesting, and I feel like producers could use chewing on what you just said a couple times, like maybe rewind a few times out there if you're listening.
I think, like, again, you're expecting people to drop a lot of money, and not just for that record making process, for the marketing of it, the distribution of it, the tour support, the radio campaigns. Like, do you want to start off on the foot as like, well, they kind of were like, fuck us the whole time, and now we have to like die on a hill for them?
It's a really interesting point because I feel like
it doesn't seem like that crazy.
Right.
The producer's default, even really good producers' defaults, are just to lean on the artist and say, I'm going to follow the artist. That's my job. Like really great producers, some of my favorite ones to work with.
You can do that.
But without talking to the people who are paying for it, you're basically you're setting in motion a time bomb of, well, that wasn't what I thought you were going to make. And expectations are important. Anyway, I just really like what you said.
It's a weird sense of job security, too. Like, I mean, I mean it in the best way. It's like, for example, I have a friend who, she interior designs houses, okay? So she's over here designing the whole home with the builder, and then there's these people paying for the house, okay? The whole time she's been doing this, and it's been going really great. And eventually it gets to the point where they're moving into the house, and she loaded in all this furniture, and the buyer's like, well, the person who pays for it is actually, we don't like this furniture. It's also too much money. We spend too much money on this. Now you got to own this furniture. We don't want to own this furniture. We don't want this. So now, like, my friend, the interior designer, has to own that furniture. And I'm not looking to take on more furniture, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
it's really cool advice.
I want it to be like, it's
collaborative.
It's the artist first, and then you take the artist's vision, you present it to the label, and then make the record.
I think it's really just kind of giving some reverence to the fact that someone's paying for this.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I think art making generally tries to ignore that someone's paying for it.
But I have to think about it, not them. Like I am the wall.
Liaison.
I'm the wall that they don't like. I am a secret garden. I'm the wall of the secret garden. They can play as much as they want over here.
I just think that's really good advice. I've never thought about it that way, and I think that it would prevent a lot of uncomfortable conversation.
Because you don't want the artist to think about the budget. Like, they don't want to think about how much your musicians cost. You don't want to think about food per diem. Like, you don't want to think about rentals. You don't want to think about studio fees. You don't want to think about mixing things. You don't want to think about any of that stuff. You just want to make music. So I do that. It's the same thing with, like, in our household. Like, like, there's some things that my wife wants to think about and she wants to function on. And there's some things that I need to function on. And that's what makes a healthy home. And if one person's doing all the work, then it's completely unbalanced. Or if one person's like, there's stuff like, for example, building the pool. When something bad would happen on the pool, do you think I told my wife every bad thing that happened? No. It was just like, we're going to get it fixed. And then she can find out that there was a problem at one point, but now it's better.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't need the artist to know every problem that comes along the way.
That's really, really just well done. I just think that's great. I think it's really just about being a better communicator. The producers being better communicators with the label. That's the takeaway. I think that's really genius.
Okay.
But it doesn't sound. It sounds like an obvious one, but I promise you, this is not. I just don't think that's typical. I think they're kind of resenting the label the whole time.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
You know what I mean? Instead of saying like, "Oh, this person paid for this shit," let's make sure they're clued in and get them excited. It's almost like Mad Men or something.
Yeah.
Picture this,
The spirit of fuck the label is really important.
I know we need it.
You have to do it.
But you have to be the person who dies on the hill of, but they're paying for this shit. Let me talk to them.
But I will feel the fuck the label convo all day long.
Yeah, I know. We love fuck the label.
Cole and all this stuff, and then like they're all raging, and I'm like, yeah, this is perfect.
Keep it going.
Like, hey, what guy's up? We're gonna need about $10,000 more for this thing.
I love it. That's great. This has already been just an amazing conversation.
We barely talked about finances.
Well, no, I think we talked more than you think. We wove it in. I have one question about your songwriter friends, such as I.
Yeah.
How do you envision? This is a total left turn, but I'm curious. How do you envision the future? What would you do to? I know these are big questions, but like, what would you do to fix the problem of payment with songwriters when it comes to traditional radio airplay. Like, I'm sure you've experienced it where a song does really well from a streaming perspective, but then the producers are getting paid, the artist is getting paid, the label is getting paid. Obviously, the DSPs are getting paid. Everybody, the PROs are getting paid, and the songwriter just kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
I
got a question.
Yeah.
What would you say, for example, you had a radio hit with Blue Strips. What's like the ratio and discrepancy between streaming and radio?
I can tell you, and it's very funny and kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
I just did this panel where I had a PRO like conglomerate sitting next to me, and a DSP person. I was between them, and I had the moderator look up how much money I made on Blue Strips just on streaming, no airplay.
Yeah.
And it was like $4,500 to split between me and my publisher.
Okay, sick.
So it's pretty bad.
Okay.
It's
and then
pretty
what's it on radio?
Abhorrent. On radio, we're talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars because it did really well on radio, which I know you experienced. But you have this income stream thing where it probably just looks like, oh my God, it's coming from so much. If you just looked at your publishing, Stick Season, where did it hit in
stream wise?
No, like radio. I know it was like,
I don't think we didn't get past top 5.
That's huge. A top 5 is massive in terms of pop airplay. You're still going to get
at 6, and
great.
And then, but we had a bunch of songs that charted.
Yeah, so you're going to see money from radio airplay, like your typical, like Y100, like those in the highway, and like all those. You're going to see a particular stream. So yeah, Blue Strips is definitely, and I've only just received this first hump of it on airplay, but just to illustrate the problem. There are hits that don't have airplay, songs that get incredibly consumed. And at the end of the day, the songwriter would only have made, if it hit the same levels that Blue Strips did, $4,500 to split between me and my publisher. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah.
It's not right, And then
how many streams did Blue Strips get?
I wish I could say. I'm not going to remember all of it, but it's substantial.
Like 3 or 4.
I don't know.
We could look it up.
I mean, we
it's
could.
Not Joe Rogan podcast.
I wish I know. Like, I have no one over this side like ready to do it. The point is that it makes sense. Obviously we live and die by pops. Like, that's how songwriter. You have one thing that allows for all this other work to be moderate. My question is more. There's a point structure that affects the producer and all those people I mentioned. The points actually stream somewhat to you. I didn't mean to use the word stream. That's confusing. But like, there's too many meanings of the word. But like, are you in any position right now where your artists are cutting writers in on points? Is that something you're seeing at all? Would you know that?
It depends on the project. Like on Coetzel, I definitely TMI information.
I know, because I know I don't want you to speak for anybody, because then we got problems.
No, so like I was gonna say is that if I feel like a person has contributed in a significant way, I will usually give them a piece of my points.
Okay, that's new. So I've only experienced that one time where a producer has voluntarily said, "Hey, I see what you've done here. I would like to give you a piece of my pie because of what you did." That involves some incredible kindness, because we are subject to someone offering it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I think that's the thing that is the most broken part about it, is that unlike, it's like someone has to choose not to eat as big of a portion at dinner that night, instead of like them just like, they have a whole pot of food over here. They're just not serving it. They're letting it go cold.
Yes.
And that's the thing that bothers me.
Oh, and it bothers me too, because I would rather not take any of the producer points as a songwriter. I wish it was carved out by the artist deals to begin with. I think it would be amazing to have just like a songwriter portion that gets split the same way that, how the artist, you're, a 4-point producer or a 5-point producer or whatever it is, and they get their points and they give you your points for the work you did. I wish that structure was built in, but not from the artist points that exist now, From the label points, because the label never pays a songwriter for
label
anything.
that they don't feel entitled to pay for anything for
Which
it.
is wild because they make money on the songs, but
and half the time it's their idea to bring those people in.
Yeah, sure, there's that too.
So it's kind of like the thing that's
They're giving
funny to
other
me,
people's
for example, okay,
portions
even
away.
just to hire me, all right, it was the label's idea, like then the artist meets me and they want to work with me. So why does the artist have to pay out of their share of the label's idea?
These are all things I wonder about. I wonder if the future will iron some of this out. You don't think so? I think that there's a point where the artists will realize that music making is sacred.
But I think that at the same time we're having too many battles at one time, and I think that conversation is going to get diluted by the conversations about artificial intelligence and other things.
Whoa, that's a great point.
Well, because for example, in AI, I view every producer and every artist as an economy. Like there are people who need a producer or they need an artist. Like for example, like Garth Brooks, we used to just put a fucking dude on a record just in order to help him pay for his house. Okay. That's having an economy. You're recognizing that when you make music, it affects other people other than you, and other people rely on your business. Okay. So like now Noah is an economy, or Dermot's an economy, and all these people. And so am I, because I have mixers and mastering engineers, and I have songwriters, I have engineers, I have assistants. I have all these people who need me to make a record, because if I don't make a record, then they don't get a job.
Precisely.
And so my argument usually for why I don't think producers should use AI is because our job should not be to eliminate these people's jobs.
Well done. Well said.
It should be to help these people continue to have jobs. Is it more convenient to use AI? 100%. Is it cost efficient? For sure.
It won't be eventually when they realize that there will be lawsuits at the end of the day. I feel like it's dangerous, full stop, because you're just asking for a future problem.
Yeah.
By borrowing someone else's work, period.
But it comes back to that sense of competition. Okay. So if people feel the need to not take care and collaborate with other people, then they can just consume and put out. And they don't care where it comes from or who's making it. But if we are a community or a collaborative little village of songwriters and producers, then we should care about all the people, even if it is more convenient. I mean, it's more convenient to drive faster down the road than drive the speed limit. But we still drive the speed limit because it's the right thing to do so you don't run into somebody.
Right.
So I'm like, just because it's, I mean, we all have bought furniture from IKEA, but eventually we wanted to buy nicer furniture. You know what I mean? Like, it's convenient, it's cheap, it's there, but it doesn't mean that it should last forever and it should be something timeless and part of your household that you care about. So I want to take care of all my people. And in a situation like with Giving Points on Co was that like, I have no idea how many songs I'm going to write. I don't know if I'm going to make another record ever again, but do I want to set myself up for the future of people viewing me as generous or people viewing me as greedy and taking away? And so even if it cost me, at the end of the day, it costs so little. I mean, yes, it is a point. And if it's a lot, it's just...
It's such a...
You're still...
Yeah.
Everybody's winning.
Right?
Because then you have people like Carrie coming in here and talking about her life that was changed and her life that was affected and how now she's an economy.
Exactly.
And she's taking care of producers and engineers and songwriters and all that stuff. And every time that happens, we have a business.
I love that. I think that's a beautiful ethos. I love that. I just think you're a really smart person, and I feel like your approach on this is exactly how I hope the future of the music industry works. Like building, I feel like you said something really beautiful that I'm going to probably name this episode, that whole building businesses concept. Like by being a good mentor, by employing all these people, you're creating new businesses, and in order to thrive, you want everybody to thrive. I love that. I think that's the future. That's the future of the music business, according to this guy. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's like, for example, like you said, your wealth management, and there's business management, and there's all these teams of people that help guide you to be sufficient and like to hold, like, so your kids and your wife or your husband or your partner, or whatever it is, can have a future. I just want everybody to have a future.
Yeah, me too.
Like, it's like, I'm not like running to the finish line in order to just like quit and stop helping people or stop making things. And
once you pass the threshold of like your lights are on, your rent is paid, your children are fed, you know what I mean? There is
everything else is a bonus.
Everything else is a bonus.
There's this like weird yoga mantra that was like when I go to hot yoga, and it's just like all you need is food, shelter, and companionship, and everything else is a bonus. And when he says bonus, it's like delayed verb. It's just like, you're like, it's a bonus.
It is
but
a
you're
bonus,
right.
man.
It's a bonus. And like, I'm very fortunate to go from that moment where I had $115,000 to make last for 3+ years to now having finances and being able to make stupid decisions like pools. But at the same time, like I did talk to multiple financial advisors who said it was a good idea.
They have children. Those financial advisors have kids. That's why they said it was a good idea.
And it is like, and I love being out there, and like I love looking up at the stars at night. I called my mom the other day, and because she was always concerned about my path, because she was like, "You wanted to be in a band. Are you okay not being in a band anymore?" I mean, how much time have I dedicated towards talking about being in a band?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
2 seconds.
You don't miss it.
Yeah.
It was like it was one stepping
was one
stone
step.
to where it is, and
I
I was
love
just,
it.
I just wanted to make music, and I think that I'm just very fortunate that we can keep doing this and make
So-
records. And
What an incredibly cool mom to be like, but you wanted to be in a band.
I know how
You know,
cute.
instead of
Never
the
happens.
exact
Never
opposite.
happens. That's the first time in history a mother has supported a band pursuit.
I know.
Are you sure you're okay?
No.
Are you
She was like,
happy?
"You loved it out there." I was like, "You mean all the drugs and alcohol and
Like the
the rock
on
and
the
roll
bus.
lifestyle?"
Yeah.
You were like that? Yeah, I mean, it was great.
Thanks,
I
Mom.
probably should chill out.
Well, Gabe, thank you so much for being here. You're amazing. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I feel like this has been so helpful for producers, mainly. I feel like you said a lot of valuable stuff.
And your heart for other people and
totally.
artists, producers, the writers you're around, it comes across.
Thanks,
in a big
man.
way.
Yeah, keep
I
it
love
up.
Well, I do think there is a bright future, and I think that I know my caveated into the AI thing, but like I think as long as people, I hope that we show enough generosity that then labels and stuff like that will want to do something different, or we get into positions of power to where we can actually affect that kind of change.
Well, to be honest with you, like you are in a position of
Yeah.
power, and so am I. And that's the privilege of it all. It's like once you get a little bit up the chain, you can affect others by
Yeah.
offering them a point when you know they deserve it, or I don't know, hosting a podcast and trying to share this
Yeah.
kind of information and share my colleagues' wisdom.
Yeah.
That to me is like massive, and I hope these conversations continue, because I do think it'll affect our generation. Might not have caught the fucking, the wind on it, but like the next generation, they get this. I think they get this.
When I think that the more that managers or this next generation are communicating, or lawyers as well, when they're negotiating their deals for up and coming artists or whatever, I think that they should be carving out this piece that says that if label is bringing in songwriters or
Mhm.
encouraging this kind of thing, they should view that as part of their label investment.
I hope so.
And I think it starts at the beginning of this thing, because if the seed is not planted in proper soil, it's just
Mhm.
going to grow however it's going to grow. So I think that like I think we find ways to get in early, or we find
Mhm.
ways to educate, and education is the biggest part of all this
Mhm.
stuff. And then people can be ready for making good decisions on good deals, and then not have to live with them for 100 years.
Mhm.
Right.
You know,
And not to open up more of that, but one more thing. Points are, a lot of people will tell you points don't amount to anything.
they don't amount to anything until they amount up to everything.
Exactly. And I want that to be clear.
Well
Like
said.
that getting these points doesn't mean you're going to make more money. In fact, if there's no success at the end of any of this, you don't make any money.
I'll take lots of times if I believe in a project, I will take less money up front and more points on the back end.
Because you believe in it,
Mhm.
because you're hoping that it sails on eagle's wings. And
Yeah.
I have done the same to no money.
Yeah.
Like I've had situations where I've been like, I'm full on, I believe in this, and I've made no dollars
Yeah.
because I believe in it. That's the hill I'm willing to die on. But it's not about points it being hugely lucrative. It's about a piece of the pie, and
Yeah,
it's about
equity.
the labels.
Ownership. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the label honoring the songwriter's contribution.
Yeah.
Sick.
I think that as long as we're a community of people advocating for that,
That's
then
right.
we can make that happen.
100%. I think so too.
And some people always have to take less points until then.
And pay it
And I've set
forward.
myself up for failure. Everybody's gonna be coming to me
I
asking
know,
for points.
seriously. Oh God.
Which just means that we're gonna have to start asking for more points, and then
Well,
and then
it'll-
giving away. Like,
it'll
these are
add up.
these are the giveaway points.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
You're
for
the
being
best.
here.
Appreciate all of you.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you for watching, actually.
Oh, yeah,
on
watching.
YouTube, because I know you're subscribed, and
That's
if you aren't,
right.
you're missing out. Thanks.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.